What is going on, everybody? Jay here back with, we're going to call this the Seahawks Roundup or Seahawks Talk. I don't know. We're going to call it something because it's not just going to be a post-game recap. We're going to talk about the game against the Chiefs. We're going to talk about the draft pick implications or where they're at. And we'll still talk playoffs. The team still has a shot to get in. So we will talk about this all coming up right now. Couple things before I get started. Two things. I'm trying out some new lighting stuff that I got, some equipment I got. So if it looks weird or looks odd to you, let me know. It is kind of, you can see it's like in my eyes, almost like I'm wearing eye black or something. So I'll definitely try and fix that. Again, I don't think you're watching these videos to necessarily look into my eyes. I guess if I take my hat off, that would help too. The hat's kind of, it's like the blocking the sun in my eyes, essentially, I guess you could say. So that's number one. And I've got a new mic. Not using it yet, but new mic, some new camera stuff. So hopefully you'll see the quality improve. Hope you've already seen some improvements when I first started talking in a bedroom with closets in the background to now kind of a nifty little setup back here. We've got some actual sports stuff going on. I don't know if you can see my kid out there yelling for something. But number two, if you see me take some swigs of water, I apologize. I am getting over a really bad cold, flu, something that just knocked me out for 3 or 4 days. I'm better now. I'm still like, my energy level is zapped, but I'm doing much better now. So, but if I do apologize if I have to take multiple sips of water and slowing things down during this. Let's first talk about the recap of Kansas City. Seattle loses 24-10 to the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Not surprising that they lost. If you watch my picks video, I took Kansas City minus 10. I kind of figured they'd give it to Seattle. I will say, if you would have told me before the game Seattle holds the Chiefs to 24, I might have said that the Seahawks can win this football game, or at least that they'd have a chance to do it. So definitely not the way I necessarily expected the game to go. It wasn't. I expected kind of a 37-23 type 14-point game, but Seattle's offense couldn't move the ball, and the defense played admirably. Truthfully, the defense forced, I think it was 6 punts or something like that, the most the Chiefs have had in a game this season. So the defense actually played pretty well when you look at it like that. Now, I'll say this about the defense. We'll start with the defense in the game. Thought the effort was there. They're clearly trying. I thought they played hard against San Francisco. Now, I want to make something clear. Playing hard does not equal playing well. My point is that they're not lacking for effort. The guys out there on defense are trying. They're trying to make plays. That's more than I can say about a lot of teams. If you watched Denver last night, and no surprise with Nathaniel Hackett being fired today, that team was not giving it everything they had. That's a team that's mailed in it. This Seahawks team is not mailing anything in. They're fighting hard. They're trying to win. And that is a testament to good coaching. So the coaching staff does deserve credit for that. The fact of the matter is this defense is just lacking some talent. The run defense did pretty well considering you had no Al Woods, no Brian Monet, your best 2 run stuffers on the D-line. They held up okay. Now, there was no pressure on Patrick Mahomes, and I think a lot of it was the Chiefs were dropping passes. They looked a little out of sync. The Chiefs, considering they had 2 tough games where they almost lost to Denver and Houston, I wouldn't call it a super inspiring performance by Kansas City. They got the W, that's all that matters, and despite talking about struggles, they've won all 3 of those games, but they definitely look like they have some kinks to work out before they get going for a potential Super Bowl run. But obviously, it also looked like maybe the Chiefs were asleep a little bit at times, like they kind of knew they could win this game and maybe were trying some stuff, whatever it was. I didn't think Seattle's defense was amazing. Like, I didn't look at that game and go, that was LOB performance. That was a top 10 defense. It looked like a defense that lacks talent, but certainly didn't lack effort out there. And that matters. Like, heart and hustle matter, especially on defense when it's about rallying to a ball carrier, rallying to a receiver to make tackles. Heart and hustle do matter on defense, but you can see where they're still lacking talent. Like I said, the pass rush was not there. I think it was the least amount of hurries Patrick Mahomes has been under this year. So they did have some issues there. Travis Kelce had a big game, not shocked there, especially with Ryan Neal being out. That was a huge factor. So I'm not shocked they had trouble defending Travis Kelce. Every team in the world has. All in all, though, if you just want to look at the performance, the defense did fine. In the last 2 weeks, they've been fine. The defense has been good enough the last 2 games to win football games. Now, probably not against San Francisco and Kansas City, the defense can finish like that, this team can win a couple games down the stretch here. The offense was bad, especially in the first half. Couldn't get anything going. They didn't have a first down till midway through the second quarter in this game. The running game couldn't get going at all. This is in the first half, and just nothing was working. The pass blocking, the run blocking, everything was a mess. Now, in the second half, they actually got some things together. The run blocking looked better. The running game came alive. Even the passing game was serviceable in the second half. It's funny, and I think at this point, we're 2 days removed. Everyone's seen the game, or at least gone back through it if you're a Seahawks fan. But it's kind of funny, at the end of the first half, Seahawks are down 17-0. They got the ball on with goal to go at the end of the first half. And they didn't go for it on fourth down. They kicked the field goal. Understandable. You want to get points there. You make a 3-score game a 2-score game. I'm not going to get on them for kicking the field goal. But you get into the second half, and they were forced to go for almost every fourth down. They drove the ball into Chiefs territory multiple times. They just got stymied. They were like 1 of 11 on third downs, and I think they only converted 1 or 2 of 4, 5, or 6 fourth downs that they went throughout the game. Now, that was the right call to go for those fourth downs. Kicking field goals is not going to get you to beat Kansas City. It's going to make it 17-9. Then Kansas City's going to go down there, make it 24-9. It's going to be game over. So Seattle did the right thing. And I even think at the end of the first half, they did the right thing. But I really think that possession at the end of the first half, where they had to settle for a field goal, was so important and so frustrating, and really was the difference. I think if Seattle puts the ball in the end zone on that possession, makes it 17-7, I wonder if this game changes a little bit in the second half. Some of those drives where Seattle went for the fourth downs, now they weren't like at the Chiefs' 20. They were back in the 30s, even the 40s. But maybe you get a little closer, you kick a field goal in a couple of these, and maybe this game's 17-13. 17-16 even. I think they had 3 or 4 possessions down there, or even 17-10. And this game's maybe a little bit different. Do I think they win it? No, I'm not trying to come on here and say, oh, Seattle had a chance. But I think that possession at the end of the first half was so crucial. And if they've been able to punch it in there, I think you go into half 17-7, actually feeling okay about where you're at. And then, like you said, you can take the field goal in some of those scenarios. Now, I'm an advocate of going for it on fourth downs a lot. I think it makes sense, especially on fourth and shorts. And you are not going to go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs with field goals. And the conditions and the cold weather probably made it very tough to kick field goals in that weather as well. So I'm not saying that they would have guaranteed make the kicks or that going for it was wrong. And I'm not saying that kicking the ball at the end of the first half was wrong either. You're down 17-0. You want to get some points there and make it a 2-score game going in the half. And it was also like 4th and goal at the 5, not at the 1. So, one of the reasons you go for it at the 1-yard line on 4th and goal is that the worst case scenario is you pin the team deep in their own territory. If you do it at the end of the half, though, the reward of not getting it isn't there. Because, let's say you don't get it, the Chiefs take over on their own 1, they just take a knee to half. So, not that they were at the 1-yard line, but even at the 5, there was no risk reward. You guys know what I'm saying, right? If you pin them down there, so what? They're just going to take a knee and go to half. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't hurt them for the next possession in any way, shape, or form. So I think kicking the field goal was the right decision in that scenario for the Seahawks. It just stinks that if things played out a little differently, they maybe could have gotten back in that game. No Tyler Lockett, evident that hurt. They really tried to go with those jumbo sets and run the football. Stone Forsythe played 40 snaps as an extra tackle. And this is for a team that already runs a lot of 3 tight end sets. Colby Parkinson plays a lot, as does Disley and Noah Fant. So they went really heavy. Now in the second half, they ran the ball pretty well. And Kenneth Walker ends up having a pretty good day. I think 26 carries for 107 yards. So when it's all said and done, they end up running the ball pretty effectively against the Chiefs. And the second half, like I said, they moved the ball pretty well. There was actually a point, I don't remember this specifically, but I think the total yards at one point in the second half was 121-19 or something in favor of Seattle, in the early stages of the fourth quarter. It was just they couldn't convert on those 3rd and 4th downs. It was a big factor for them. So, like I said, and no Tyler Lockett is huge on that. They had plays they ran to Laquan Treadwell, who's just, he's a sixth, seventh receiver in the NFL, to be honest. And he had to be the number two. There was no D. Eskridge in this game. Not sure he would have made a difference, but he wasn't available. It's why a lot of people talk about receiver talent needing to be a place the Seahawks should still look at in the draft. And I agree. I think it's still an area of need for this team because they lost Tyler Lockett and their options just went, to nothing here. Now, you can never account for injuries, but you'd hope that the passing game with one guy out can still be somewhat formidable. And it's just not right now. DK had a nice game, but, he's one guy. He can only do so much. One thing that was kind of frustrating, and I noticed on 2 of the 4th downs the Seahawks went for, is that there's one to Parkinson and one to Treadwell where the routes were run short of the sticks, and it was so frustrating. Now, the Parkinson one, I think, was by design, so I'll blame the coaching staff more for that one. That one, I think, clearly the goal was to get Parkinson some run after the catch on that one. The one to Treadwell, Geno threw kind of across his body. I don't know if that was the primary target on that play. It probably wasn't. Sorry if I'm sitting back. I'm just trying to get better. Let me see if I can move this up a little bit. Maybe tilt that back. I don't know, is that better? I don't know, whatever. But I don't think Treadwell was the primary target on that second 4th down. I think it was just Geno saw him, and because he's throwing back across, Treadwell has to come up to make the catch, and he's short of the stick. So I won't put that one on the coaching staff. The one to Parkinson, though, was clearly the design play, and it was run short of the sticks. I get it. I'm not against setting plays up for some rack yards, but it's frustrating on 4th down when you're not running plays that are to the sticks. It makes it tough. So overall, was I encouraged, disappointed? I thought there were some good things. Like I said, the defense effort was there. And they did show one thing I talked about a couple weeks ago when I was previewing the Niners game, is I said that, run defense is one of those things. It's like a bullpen. It can show up one day and not show up next week. And Seattle's kind of proven that. They're proving that this defense might just be a couple big guys on the D-line away. They were missing Ryan Neal as well. I think that hurts big time for them in this game. I didn't think the defense was great. I wouldn't even call them good again. Again, I thought Kansas City was dropping some passes out there. So I don't think they were very good. But they were fine. The effort was admirable, is what I'd say. The defense deserves you did good, a thumbs up. If you guys watch The Office, I don't know, remember when Kevin's answering the phones and Jim goes, let me put it this way. I think Kevin is doing exactly what you'd expect from someone like Kevin in that situation. That's kind of how I view the defense in this game. The defense did about as well as you could expect that defensive unit to play. And that's what I'd give them the last 2 weeks. Was either the performances good? I don't think necessarily good, but it was good enough to probably win those games if the offense was better. And that's all I can ask. For a defense that's just lacking talent, that's all I can ask. The offense, I thought in the second half was fine. They were just in a position where they were forced to go for so many 4th downs that it's hard to judge how they really would have been. It would have been nice if they could have started the game like that. They did on the first run. Kenneth Walker busted out a big run. Unfortunately, it was called back. I thought it was a little bit of a ticky-tacky hold on DK. There was another penalty on, I think they called on Austin Blythe for a false start when Frank Clark was clearly offsides. That made a 3rd and 6, a 3rd and 11 instead of a 3rd and 1. That was big. I don't think any of it changed the game or anything like that, so that's not what I'm saying. There were some ticky-tacky calls on Kansas City, too, on the drive when Seattle got their first field goal that they just kept chucking flags on the Chiefs. So not much you can do. Good to see Kenneth Walker back and rushing for 100 yards. That was key. Great to see him getting his feet back in there. He actually, I thought, ran pretty well against the Niners, too. Again, just they were behind the 8 ball so much that they didn't get a chance to really stick with the run at all in that game. But I thought it was good to see. It was good to see Walker doing it and whatnot. And obviously this team is going to benefit from getting Tyler Lockett back. So all in all, that's my recap of the game. Let's move on to the draft. Seattle currently holds the number 3 and 12 picks in the draft. That is amazing and great news for a team that needs, I think, a talent increase. And we're going to start doing some mock drafts here. If Seattle is eliminated this weekend, which is possible, we will move on to mock drafts. I'll still talk about the games. we'll still do that, but I will have more mock drafts up and do that. By the way, last time I'm going to say this in a video, but if you're wondering what this is, that is first of all, it's Philadelphia Eagles logos. My wife is an Eagles fan. That's why it's up. I'm Seahawks through and through. I don't really even root for the Eagles, but I mean, if they're there, I hope if it's not Seattle, they win for her and her family's sake. They're all from Pennsylvania originally. So that's why that's there, just in case. First time watching, going, what is this guy an Eagles fan too? No. But I think it's a cool poster too. I love the old school logos from the Eagles. I think they're really neat. But anyways, where was I? The draft. So they'd be picking number 3, number 12. Listen, this team needs help right now on the interior of the offensive line. They could use a center. They could use some guard help as well. I'm not against adding some receiver talent. They need help anywhere on the defensive line. I think right now you've got 2 or 3 guys in that D line that I think are NFL players. And that's, I mean, they've got more than that, but there's just, Nwosu's, good. Shelby Harris, a nice role player. Puda Ford's a nice role player. Darrell Taylor, who did get a sack, is kind of nice role player. He's a number 2 rush guy. Al Woods is a nice role player. Brian Monet's a nice role player. Yeah, Puda Ford at this point, I think, is a nice role player. Maybe a little bit better than that, but he hasn't shown too much this season. Quentin Jefferson, actually, I thought had one of his better games. He's a borderline role player. Miles Adams is a guy that's your last guy on a roster. He's active when someone gets hurt. And LJ Collier, I don't even think is an NFL player at this point. So you are very much lacking talent in that D-line. They need help there. They might need some help at linebacker. That's not where I'd go, 3 and 12. I could argue you could use another corner. I think opposite of Tariq Woolen, they're struggling right now. Trey Brown can't really get on the field, it seems at all. I don't know why, but I trust that the coaching staff, there's a reason for that. Michael Jackson started out real nice. I think he's kind of tailed off. Quandre Diggs played better. I thought Diggs had his best game of the year, actually. He made some nice plays against the run. But you can make a case with how he's played. I don't know. He could be a cap casualty. They can save money with a post-June 1st cut there. And Jamal Adams could be too. I do think this defense would be better with Jamal Adams, but he's coming off another major injury. And Ryan Neal's been okay there. You could cut Adams and save some money. Sorry, I can tell my voice is getting hoarse. So you could make case safety as a need as well. So right now they're picking 3rd. There's actually still an outside chance they could have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. It would require Houston to win out, the Bears to win a game, Denver to lose out. It's not impossible. Houston plays the Colts and the Jags. They did beat the Jags early in the year. The Bears would maybe just have to beat a Vikings team at home. If maybe Minnesota's locked into a spot, resting people, they could win. And Denver, is kind of destined to lose out here as they have imploded. They fired Nathaniel Hackett today. They lose to the Rams 51-14. That is just a low of all lows. Excuse me. No, I'm not going to get the water. Thought I needed that for a second. But, Denver, I thought I had a chance to beat the Rams. I did pick the Rams. I didn't think they'd lose by that much. Hard to envision Denver. They're not going to go into Kansas City and win. I can't imagine. And then it'll depend on what the Chargers need that final week of the season. So I would say at worst, you're probably looking at number 3 for Seattle, and anywhere from 1 to 3 is possible. Like I said, we'll start doing some mock drafts, but guys like Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, very much, going to be available hopefully to this team. And that's going to be huge. Now, Seattle's draft pick, listen, that is the upside. I will never root for my team to lose. Never. It's just not, I can't do it. Life is short. Who knows? This could be our last, I'm not saying it's going to, but I could not be here tomorrow, and I'm not going to spend my last days rooting for the team I love to lose. It's not my last days. I'm just saying, you never know in life. Life is short. So why spend it being miserable and rooting for a team to lose? However, there are upsides to Seattle losing, and that is these draft picks. They're sitting at number 12 right now. It's not crazy that they could lose to the Jets and Rams, and they could finish with a top 10 pick as well of their own volition. So, there is upside. And I can acknowledge that. I'm not going to root for them to lose, but I can acknowledge certainly that it's not the worst thing in the whole world, them losing and improving that draft pick and possibly having 2 top 10 picks to go along with the rookie class has been sensational. is really great news. Real quick, I'll conclude this with the playoffs. Yes, I know I'm not even going to do the Jim Moore thing, but they are still very much alive for the playoffs. They got a lot of help on Saturday, not as much on Sunday. Giants lose, Commanders lose, Lions lose, Packers win. That was kind of a downer. That would have been real nice. Had Miami pulled that off, it would have essentially eliminated Green Bay. But here's what Seattle needs for the playoffs. I'll keep it short and simple. I'm still rooting for them to get in. The goal is always to get in. You never know what can happen if you do get in the playoff race. Seattle, there is scenarios where they could win one game and get in. I'm not going to go through that. They're going to need to win out. They're not going to be able to win one game and get in. It's just, I don't think it's going to happen. So let's go over the scenarios, number one, that are plausible. Seattle needs to win their final two. They're at home against the Jets and the Rams, winnable. Mike White is going to play for the Jets, so that could, I think it did move the line to favoring the Jets, but it's certainly a winnable game, and so is the Rams. They are going to need either, they need Green Bay to lose one more. This is the first scenario. Green Bay loses one, and then Washington loses one. That would be a scenario. Or Green Bay loses one, and the Giants lose out. So if Seattle wins out, Green Bay loses one, and Washington loses one, they're in. Seattle wins out, Green Bay loses one, and the Giants lose both their games, Seattle's in the playoffs. The other scenario is simple as well. Seattle wins out. That's kind of the running theme. They need to win out. If Seattle does win Sunday against the Jets, they cannot be eliminated, by the way. They would still be alive. So Seattle wins both their games. Washington loses a game, because that would give them 8. Yeah, Washington loses a game, and the Giants lose out. If that happens as well, Seattle can get in. So Seattle doesn't necessarily need a Green Bay loss. That would have really helped, because that would have essentially, had Green Bay lost yesterday, Seattle would have needed to win out, and one more Washington loss would have gotten them in. Detroit is still alive as well, but Seattle does hold the tiebreaker over Detroit. So Detroit losing to Carolina makes it that if Seattle wins their final 2 games, there's nothing Detroit can do. They don't have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks, so they can't pass them. So I'm not really worried about Detroit. Detroit only comes back into play if Seattle loses and stays alive. I'm not going to get into that. My voice is already going. You can hear it. So I'm still getting over this. I'm going to cut this video short. Please like, comment, subscribe. Most of my views are still coming from non-subscribers, which I very much appreciate. But if you're a Seahawks fan or an NFL fan like me, just hit that sub button for me. Helps me out a whole lot as I'm trying to grow my channel. And like I said, getting some better equipment going on, some mics and stuff like that. You know, we're getting more professional here. So if you could support me, I would truly appreciate it. And then, yeah, I will see you guys. I'm going to have another video coming today. It's a jersey review. So I will have that up later today as well. But until then, I hope everybody had a great holiday with loved ones or whoever you spend time with. I hope it was great for you. And wishing everybody a great new year. And go Hawks. Peace.